About 30 years ago, when I had my first real job, I worked at Alden's Mail Order House. A couple of you old school in here might remember it. 743 was the union that dealt with mail order houses. They had Spiegel's, they had us, they had, you know, some things of Sears. And we were really being young and idealistic, you know, from the child of the 60s. I was real proud to be a part of the union. We had good contract and we definitely had decent wages. 743 was involved in Black history for this city. They were one of the two locals that supported Dr. King when he came to the west side of Chicago. But sadly, I gotta say to you, later, 743 start making sweetheart deals and getting into bed with management.
They have an insurance plan to 743 Health and Welfare Fund, which has lost $16 million in the last 2.5 years under this corrupt leadership. Chester Glanton, Richard Lopez, and those tied to International President Jimmy Hoffa have taken our insurance way down. So much so that they had to open the contract halfway through and make the workers pay. Many of these people standing behind me right now have lost their insurance for their family members, their spouses, and their children. There's people that maybe have catastrophic illnesses, possibly could financially ruin them.
I met Richard back when we were both in college. The first time I saw him was on campus outdoors at a rally. He was standing up on this stone fence with this microphone in his hand and talking about change, and he had this long red hair then that was flying in the breeze. And this is Marquette University, kind of a conservative campus. So I'm like, who is that guy? So that's the first time I saw him, and then later we met through mutual friends. For years and years, Richard was a worker at University of Chicago Hospitals. He worked in housekeeping, and he was union steward, and he was continuously fighting to get good contracts. He was a business agent quite some time ago. He found it very frustrating because the leadership that was in place was definitely very corrupt, and it made it very hard for him to do a good job for the members. He would go out to plants and they would have rotten contracts that had been just sort of ratified over and over without any real attempt to involve the members. I mean, just the corruption was basically rampant. 743
has members across the Chicagoland area in a lot of different industries. We're all Teamsters, members of the local Teamsters Local 743, but we do all kinds of different work. There's people in the insurance industry at Blue Cross Blue Shield, the Central States Pension Fund. We have people in warehouses, people that work in factories, people that work in all kinds of different jobs, nursing homes, hospitals. And the question you said about representation is the critical question that we hear everywhere we go. People are upset that the representation they're getting is subpar. It's not up to snuff. And when they have a major problem, they have difficulty getting their union officials, people we call business agents, to come out and take care of the problems that they're having. Contracts that they've been having, especially over the last period of time since the current leadership got in there, have been getting worse every single contract. Wages have been subpar, and people are looking for a change, I think.
Going into the election, he was so excited, he was so ecstatic. I mean, it was clear that they were winning, and he was, you know, just full of energy and enthusiasm. And then when they called the do-over, he was just outraged, justifiably so. And he was furious. He was like, they're not getting away with this. I mean, he was very, very determined. I mean, he felt that, well, an injustice had been done to he and his slate, to him and to his slate. And he was just all gung-ho. We're going to do this. So he and the people around him worked very, very hard to try to make that happen. The incumbents, they issued themselves a key to the post office mailbox, where the P.O. box, the ballots get mailed to the post office, to a P.O. box. The incumbents issued themselves a key to that. And so they were able to also just directly remove ballots that they didn't think would be favorable. Now, Richard's people discovered this when a number of people said, hey, we never got our ballots, and their own mailing, Richard Slate's mailing, had actually made it to their homes with the exact same address that the union used, that the incumbent union at that time used. So it was pretty obvious that the correct address was in fact there, and then when they investigated a little bit more, they found out that in fact all these things had taken place, and there was a whole criminal investigation. In fact, there was even a grand jury indictment of the people who were responsible for this. Yeah, the third election was really outrageous. What the incumbents did was diverted ballots from the members to their friends, to their cronies. The way they did this was they claimed that they didn't have the right address for the members and therefore declared the ballots undeliverable, in other words, unvotable, but then they mailed them to their buddies. A whole slew of them went to this Russian-Turkish bathhouse, which is already a notorious hangout. These ballots were returned as though voted by the members. And these ballots, of course, were all for the incumbent Slate. They reported their findings to the Department of Labor, which underwent an investigation, which oversaw an investigation, and it confirmed that, in fact, these ballots were stolen. These votes were stolen. These guys were cheating. The outcome of the investigation wasn't, oh, those guys cheated, let's put Richard Berg and the new leadership Slate in office. What they did instead was said, oh, those guys cheated, let's just have a whole new election. Now, of course, elections take resources. These guys were making the big bucks, the big salaries for years. They have huge coffers. You know, they have a whole bunch of money at their disposal. The new leadership Slate was like running on a shoestring. I mean, this was coming out of people's pockets. People were given $5 at a fundraiser, this, that. So he was thrilled and delighted that it was confirmed, and certainly very, very glad at the, justifiable criminal charges. But he was just so angry and frustrated that they had to do it again. They had to run again. Richard admired his father very, very much and emulated him. Richard's father was a Teamster truck driver. He was a cross-country truck driver. He'd be gone for 5 days at a time on the road and home for weekends. Richard was one of 5 children, so it was a lot of work for all of them. Richard's father was very active in the Teamsters, and when there were some issues with contracts at their plant, he was the one who organized and got a very good contract for them. When it was time for him to retire, and when others around him were retiring, he was able to ensure pensions for people. He helped people work their way through the ropes, the necessary ropes. And I think that's a lot of what made Richard want to be a union, well, first he was a union organizer, but then a union member and a union leader and a Teamster.
So you would say that, I guess, Richard grew up in a union household. I mean, he learned from you the importance of unions and what they mean. Yes, I think so. He heard enough of it and knew, like my wife and I, talking and all that, because it was pretty rough times. I didn't know if we were going to lose our job or not when we swung across, and we didn't know where we stood. And so, yes, there was quite a bit of talk in our house about it. And he listened to this whole meeting from on top of the steps. We couldn't see him because it was kind of a hidden stairway, but he was there listening. Was he? You mentioned that he grew up in a union household, and he was very much interested in the union. Was he also very much interested in politics too? Then?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes, he was. He was always interested in the underdogs, supposedly. He always would take the side of somebody that really needed it, even in college.
Now, of course, this struggle to reform his local has been going on for quite a long time now. He's been working very hard on this, and of course he had to face a lot of disappointing moments in those efforts. Did he talk to you a lot about the work that he was doing and about the disappointments that he had along the way?
Yes, some. He always was optimistic, even in the worst times. I'd say, Richard, you know, maybe you should try something else or go on and do something else. But he was always, these people really need this, and there was so much adversity, and they didn't play fair, the other people. They were doing illegal things to get him that he wouldn't win, you know.
He was always for the man that was under, you know. He was always for causes. Like I said, he's been trying to, he's more good than, blew us back the way he was, you know, so interested in that age 4. Because that's all they had on all the channels. There was only about 3 channels them days.
And you mentioned his interest, too, in when you were involved in the effort with the Teamsters. Did he ask a lot of questions about that?
Yes.
Yes, he did. He was very interested, yes.
What kind of things did he ask you? Do you remember?
Oh, just different things. I think about what was the Teamsters and why were we so interested in joining and different things like that.
I always stressed how we had to stick together and how you were your own body. It was you that made the union, not the union itself. Sure, it had the name Teamsters, but it was the men. They were only represented by the Teamsters. I always stressed that very much to him and to everybody. When we had different arguments with people, they thought, oh, the Teamsters, and they were so, you know, at first it was, the people were thinking where I am all our life. I said, hey, they're only representing you. You are the 40 of us or 30 of us. We are the people that are, and they're only representing us, but we are the union within us, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I stressed that very much. And he still, I think, sticks by that theory, too, that people are the backbone and being represented by the Teamsters.
When he graduated from college, he definitely wanted to get a job in a union. I said, you could go with a company. You know, he had a degree in business, and he did real well in college. And he said, no, I want to be with the union and help the people.
Richard ran for vice president of the International Teamster Union. That's the Teamster Union that includes the United States, Canada, Mexico, I believe. And this was a much grander scale. He had been feeling a little beaten down and worn out, in fact, very much so. And in fact, when he was asked to run, I think he had some second thoughts. He's somebody who puts a good face on things, and so I don't think it was obvious to the whole world that what kind of second thoughts and doubts he was having, but they were definitely there. I mean, you know, he would tell me about them. But then he came around. He's got these reserves. I'm not even altogether sure where they come from, but he has this enormous drive and determination and fortitude. I mean, he will just stick things out. And so he got up and ran. Now, convention in Vegas, it was pretty clear that this was not very popular with his opponents because, in fact, he was physically assaulted. He was punched in the face by Richard Lopez, who was until very recently, was the president of Local 743 of the Teamsters. And, of course, Lopez tried to deny that this took place. Luckily, it was on the security cameras. But this is taking things to a whole new level. I mean, this is physical assault. I mean, it made him a little uneasy. But again, he's like, I'm certainly not going to let myself be intimidated. So he kept going. After having lost that election and being so devastated, as I said, and wondering whether he should even just give up on this whole thing, just pursue a whole different career path, he started talking about running again. And everybody thought he was crazy. A lot of people did. A lot of people who ran with him before, they were just burned out. They were felt like they couldn't do that again. I wasn't real supportive. I was like, dude, you've run so many times. you know, just give it up. Don't do this to yourself. You're going to kill yourself doing this. I mean, that's kind of how I was at first until I knew he was determined, and then I did my best to be supportive. But he just like picked himself up again, and the core of people around him who believed in the same stuff just kind of picked themselves up too. And unfortunately for the campaign, some of the people who were on the slate last time were no longer even eligible this time around because of plant closings. Their plants closed, they were no longer Teamster members, they couldn't even run on the slate. So, I mean, there was quite a bit of change going into this last election too. Well, the day before the election, he was actually fairly optimistic at that point. They'd done their kind of polls, and he thought, I think this time we're actually going to do it. And he was actually pleased that the Department of Labor was involved, because this time they couldn't steal the election.
We counted the votes in Local 743. We started early in the morning, and dozens and dozens of people came out throughout the day from all across Local 743. Even retirees who had been involved for years and years, because people sensed that this was our opportunity for a real change. It was unbelievable, the outpouring of support of people that came to see this historic event, the day that the union would change, that there would actually be an election where the rank and file took power in our local union. And people, it was up and down, emotional roller coaster. There was moments where we thought many of our ballots wouldn't be counted because they were being challenged, or that they may count ballots that we thought were stolen. And you had, before the actual count happens, there's this whole process of saying who's eligible to vote, who isn't eligible to vote. This has been true in every single election in Local 743. The fact that's different is it used to be decided either by the Local 743 officials or somebody that they had hired to decide. And this election was actually being really run by somebody from the outside. And when we thought they didn't understand our side of the argument, emotionally we got all upset and angry. We said, oh, you have to count this vote, or whatever. And people have been involved in this for so many years. And it felt like this was like a pass-fail course in the last 20 years of your life sometimes. And so the stakes were very high. It was 140 some work sites, the collective bargaining agreements for all these people, and they were there watching intently. The numbers of from our side of people watching to their side was 4 or 5 to 1 almost all the time. And you could see as the numbers started to come in and they actually started to count the ballots, it was very close. And I would walk back to where the people were sitting that had them roped off, and I'd say, well, it's very close. I was being honest with them, and people, oh boy, and people react differently. There was, some people were praying and asking for, asking God to help us, that we needed to win this election. It was so important. And other people were just being nervous, and some people said, oh, don't worry, Richard, you got it made, you're going to win this. And there's all these different reactions, all these different emotions, but it was close. It wasn't a shoo-in election by any means at all. And as we got almost towards the very end, it became, we got a sudden surge at the end, and it was clear that they weren't going to catch us. The people we were running against, the bad guys, they all left the floor, because they went inside the offices where the union hall to huddle with their lawyers. And it was just all of a sudden there was nobody left except for the 743 new leadership slate and the people from the Department of Labor who were counting the ballots. And at that point it was clear that that we were going to win the election, and just cheers went out, and people were just so excited and happy, and yelling and screaming and hugging each other. As the hugging went on for hours and hours, I think, and everybody was like, we had finally done it. We had, the workers had taken over Local 743, that, the thousands of members would now be able to, have their own organization. And when we fought for justice, we wouldn't be fighting the union and the company, we'd be fighting just for justice. And people related, it's just, I can't describe it. For myself, it was maybe the happiest moment of my life. We were just just so happy that that we had finally done something right. And you looked at the faces of all the people that there's so many. I look at we didn't win by so much, and as I looked at this fella, who had maybe delivered 50 votes from a factory where he worked hard for 20 years or something like that. If it wasn't just for that one guy, we might not have won. But then I look at this sister over here, and she maybe was a strong leader in her workplace, and all these people, everybody, all of us, it was all of us together. No one of us could have accomplished this, and in fact, we needed all of us, and it was by working together, we had done something so great, and now we move forward. Now we have this union as ours, and we need to take advantage of the strength of all these members and use democracy.
People started calling immediately saying, "Oh, I lost my job. Oh, our contract's awful. Oh, we think we need to go on strike." He hadn't even taken office yet, and he's getting these calls. "Please help us. We know you're you're our guy." And he's like, "Well, wait. It's like I don't even know what the inside of the office looks like anymore." So he was a little scared. He was a little scared that the responsibilities were so huge, and there was so much to learn. How would they be able to learn everything they had to learn in time for everybody who needed them? New Year's Day, they walk into the office and they find the place has been totally trashed, and computers are missing, files are missing, everything is just totally in disarray. He expected a certain amount of sabotage. I mean, he's been around long enough, he's savvy enough that he thought there would be, that things wouldn't be made easy for them. But he was really just horrified at the degree. I mean, he was very angry, very upset, and very frustrated. And this just makes their job 10 times harder. And it's, on the other hand, he knew it confirmed once again that they were the right people to be in. They were the ones who cared about the members. The other guys just sabotaged the members on their way out just to make Richard and his crew look bad. So, very mixed feelings for him on that day.
We pulled these out of a dumpster. These are shredded documents. There's some pizza and Corona, which very possibly could have been consumed while they were shredding documents. God knows what this is. They've stolen computers. You got to remember too, these people are accused of stealing 500 ballots with 100 of their closest friends. So,
and there are a number of officers indicted now too, and so on. So this is there's a history here of stuff that might want to be hidden.
I'm obviously very concerned about what this is and what this means to the membership, and I mean, this is people pay money for this information, and it's this is their organization, and it's gone. So we're looking at looks like at least five bags of shredded documents here, and big. I mean, we're talking about like 13, no more than that, like what 20-gallon bags of documents here. It's a lot of stuff, and with the computers being stolen over the Christmas holiday, coincidentally, important computers that were their responsibility, and I'm assuming had a lot of really important documents that could be used to further evidence against these people that have already done a lot of stuff to this organization and to the membership. So we have a lot of work to do today. We've got a lot of stuff to do.
I know when we asked Richard what the priorities right now, coming into office are, one of the things he said is to make sure to root out any other criminal activity that might have been going on within the local, and this is the kind of stuff that you're saying is worrisome because it inhibits your ability to kind of track and see what's really been going on.
Well, we definitely need to find out everything that we can today, and we also need to find out, contracts that are expired. We need to make sure that all the grievances are handled and that kind of stuff. And hit the ground running day to day and do what a real union does, which is not only service the membership, but then organize and mobilize the membership. So we need to see that they've left everything for us that they need, and shredded documents are not a part of that. So
it's a new day for Local 743. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's a new day, that's right. And it's a new day. We have to make a difference. You know, we can't just, you know, an entire slate of rank and file workers just won this election. You know, it's not people that have been in office or have been business agents for, you know, years and years. It's workers just like you just took over this union. And that's something that, I think that's something we're proud of, and I think it's something our union can be proud of. It wasn't an easy battle. You know, it's been going on a long time. You know, we'll tell you that we had to win 3 or 4 elections just to get to take office. But it's going to be a different day now, and we're going to do things differently. You know, simple things like when you call the office, you're going to get a person to answer the phone now instead of a voice guy. Unfortunately for us, our phones have been sabotaged. The passwords have been messed up, and so if you call, you still get the names of people that many of who no longer work here. But that's going to change. We're going to get that straightened out. You know, you've heard about the theft. You've heard about the sabotage. These are things that you know, you wouldn't think one Teamster would do to another, but they did. And there's some people that were not very good at all at building up a union. Seem to be very good at trying to tear it down. We're not going to let that deter us.
This has been a long time coming. This has been a battle, and it's given me great pleasure to present this award to the new leadership, Slate, who have brought black, brown, and white together. It shows you that you can work together if you want to, if you work hard enough. And it also have made me believe in humanity again, that the little guy do win. I present this award to William Jenkins Award, the principal committed to the cause of trade union democracy.